Welcome to today's deep dive into one of the most complex and chilling cases in the history of American crime, the case of Joseph Paul Franklin. This story is not just about the brutal crimes Franklin committed, but also about the impact of his actions, the beliefs that drove him, and how he became a symbol of extremism in the United States. Joseph Paul Franklin is often remembered as a serial killer, but his motivations set him apart from other criminals of his time, as he targeted individuals based on a personal ideology and strong beliefs about race, politics, and religion. Joseph Paul Franklin was born as James Clayton Vaughn Jr. on April 13, 1950, in Mobile, Alabama, raised in an impoverished and chaotic household. Franklin's early life was marred by extreme parental neglect, abuse, and hardship. The dysfunction in his family played a significant role in shaping the mindset that would later fuel his actions. From a young age, Franklin was exposed to racist ideologies. His troubled upbringing left him with a deep-seated resentment toward the world, and he often sought scapegoats to blame for his situation. As he grew older, Franklin immersed himself in literature and propaganda from far-right extremist groups, which intensified his disdain for racial and ethnic minorities. His self-imposed mission became to cleanse the United States, a distorted perspective that turned deadly. During his early adult years, Franklin legally changed his name from James Vaughn to Joseph Paul Franklin. He adopted this name in honor of Paul Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, and Benjamin Franklin, an American founding father. He saw this combination as an homage to his twisted sense of patriotism and his admiration for Nazi ideology. After his name change, Franklin took on an even more extreme approach to his beliefs, actively searching for ways to carry out his mission. In the late 1970s, Franklin began to travel extensively across the United States. He lived out of his car, using fake identification and committing robberies to fund his journey. With each passing day, his belief in his mission grew stronger. Franklin believed it was his duty to rid the world of those he deemed inferior, particularly targeting interracial couples and Jewish people. This marked the beginning of a deadly path as he plotted and executed crimes with meticulous planning and a chilling detachment. Between 1977 and 1980, Franklin's crimes escalated and his attacks became more violent. Unlike many other serial killers who commit crimes for personal gratification, Franklin's motivation was rooted in his ideology. His first major crime was the bombing of a synagogue in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1977. Although no one was killed in this attack, it marked the beginning of a spree that would span multiple states. Following this, Franklin targeted specific individuals he saw as symbols of what he hated. He often selected his victims from a distance, sometimes targeting them simply because they were part of an interracial couple or involved with Jewish communities. In 1980, Franklin claimed responsibility for the shooting of civil rights leader Vernon Jordan in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Though Jordan survived, this attack brought Franklin's actions into the national spotlight, further intensifying the search for him. Throughout his spree, Franklin used his military-style marksmanship to carry out attacks with deadly precision. Among the most well-known cases associated with Franklin was the killing of Gerald Gordon, a 42-year-old man in St. Louis, Missouri. Gordon was leaving a synagogue when Franklin shot him, aiming to spread fear within the Jewish community. This specific murder would eventually lead to Franklin's capture, as the evidence gathered at the crime scene helped identify him. In addition to targeting Jewish people, Franklin also targeted interracial couples in Salt Lake City, Utah. He killed two young African-American men, Ted Fields and David Martin, while they were out jogging with white female friends. Franklin's attacks were motivated by his desire to incite racial tensions and spread his beliefs through fear. His relentless commitment to his mission of hate was unwavering, and he became one of the most sought-after criminals during this time. After a nationwide manhunt, Joseph Paul Franklin was finally apprehended in October 1980. His capture was seen as a major relief to the nation, as law enforcement agencies had been on high alert due to his multi-state crime spree. When questioned, Franklin openly admitted to his crimes, detailing each incident with a level of indifference that shocked investigators. He described his motivations without remorse and took pride in his actions, viewing himself as a martyr for his beliefs. Throughout his trials, Franklin displayed little to no remorse. He was convicted of multiple murders and sentenced to death in Missouri. Over the years, Franklin would go on to confess to other crimes, some of which were never officially proven. While in prison, he also renounced his beliefs, claiming to have found religion and seeking forgiveness for his past actions. However, the sincerity of this transformation remained a topic of debate, as many viewed it as a ploy for leniency. On November 20, 2013, Joseph Paul Franklin was executed by lethal injection in Missouri. His execution marked the end of a chapter in American criminal history. But his case left a lasting impact. Franklin's life and actions serve as a reminder of the dangers of extremism and the horrific acts that can stem from hate-fueled ideologies. His willingness to cross state lines and commit violent acts against people who had done him no personal harm shocked the nation and highlighted the importance of addressing hate crimes. Franklin's story is both a cautionary tale and a study of how dangerous extremism can become when left unchecked. His actions terrorized communities across the United States, leaving scars that remain to this day, although his life ended on death row. The memory of his crimes continues to linger, sparking conversations on the importance of combating hatred and promoting tolerance. Today, the case of Joseph Paul Franklin continues to be a subject of research and discussion among criminologists, psychologists, and historians. His actions serve as a grim example of how hatred and prejudice can fuel violent extremism. Franklin's story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the impact of racial and ideological hatred on individuals and communities alike. The crimes he committed were not just acts of violence. They were calculated attempts to spread fear, incite division, and reinforce his twisted worldview. As we reflect on Franklin's life, it's crucial to remember the victims whose lives were tragically cut short by his actions. Each life lost represents not just a victim but a family torn apart, a community shaken, and a lasting reminder of the consequences of hatred. By studying cases like Franklin's, society can better understand the underlying factors that contribute to violent extremism and work toward preventing similar tragedies in the future. Thank you for joining us on this exploration into the chilling life and legacy of Joseph Paul Franklin. His case remains a stark reminder of the power of ideology to drive violence and serves as an important lesson in the fight against hate.